What's up, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new and updated test hand video for Nekroz. I know we've been doing a few test hand videos lately, but that's because I've got no duels to upload or edit right now, but I will hopefully by this weekend as I get to locals to record some feature matches, either some feature matches from a 3v3 tournament or from a regular standard locals. I'm not sure yet, but in the meantime, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Also, real quick before we get started with these Nekroz test hands, I want to mention a few things. This is a new build, playing some new cards. As you can see, Foolish Burial Goods. I'm also running Zaborg, Vanity's Ruler, and Manju in the main deck as well. It's a 45 card build, slightly different than the last profile, although not too much. I don't know if I'll keep the changes I've made, but I'm pretty happy with this build so far. So one other thing I want to mention is our sponsor, Imperium Duelists, the makers of this lovely mat here and many others like it down on their website. You can find a link to their website down in the description below, and a discount code you can use to save 10% off on your entire order when you pick up any sleeves like you see here. These beautiful sleeves, their new formula of sleeves which come in these new boxes also, or some of their effect sleeves like you can see here, sort of these heart effect sleeves, the charm effect I believe, and this Thunderstorm playmat too, which I think they just might have restocked a couple of them, not entirely sure, but if you want to browse or peruse or pick up anything up from them, go down to the link below in the description and check them out. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our first test hand. We'll do 5 test hands. I think that'll be about the average we do. At least that's what I've been doing lately, and it will keep the video from getting too long. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle a little bit here, and then we'll go ahead and start the first test hand. All right, so I've shuffled the deck real quick. Hopefully we don't draw too bad. Now I am going to do probably all of these test hands going first, because I feel like Nekroz can play very well going first. So let's see what we open here. And we open Foolish Burial Goods, Prep Rights, Ben 10, Nekroz Mirror, and Pencil Plume. This hand is extremely good, and we can actually demonstrate one of the reasons I'm actually playing Foolish Burial Goods in this deck, and it works very well with the Incantation engine, the Nekroz engine, as well as another card I'm playing in the main deck that is pretty synonymous with Foolish Burial Goods, and that is Metalfoes Fusion, obviously just for extra draw power. So we'll start here by activating Pencil Plume, revealing the Ben 10, and we'll special summon Pencil Plume and summon out a copy of Talismandra. Talismandra, you might have guessed, is going to get us a copy of Nekroz of Bryanak. This is so we can set up that Vanity's Ruler play. Now, one thing I do want to do first, though, is we can extend a little bit more here and use a bit more resources to get a little more pluses. And we're going to use Foolish Burial Goods to dump the Inception to the graveyard. We're going to use Inception to send one of these monsters to the grave. We're going to send the Pencil Plume to summon a incantation from our deck with a different name than the one we sent. And we're going to summon out Kandal, and Kandal is going to add us a copy of Nekroz Cycle. And then the Inception will get added back to our hand because of its own effect. So Foolish Burial Goods coming in very clutch for that effect there. Now, from here, we will discard the Nekroz of Bryanak to add a copy of pretty much whatever you want. We'll go for Valkyrus here just because it's a good card to have in hand to pretty much help block any battle damage that might try to be done to anybody trying to beat over our Vanity's Ruler. So now we'll activate Cycle, tributing away the Ben 10 to summon out the Bryanak, and then we'll use Ben 10's effect to add a Light Fairy from deck to our hand, from our deck to our hand. Now, if we already had Ruler, we could add Manju the 10,000 hands for a follow-up for next turn, but we'll stay with the Vanity's Ruler choice for now. And then we'll normal summon the Vanity's Ruler by attributing both of our incantations, or if we only had one incantation on our board, we could attribute the Bryanak as well. Now from here, we'll activate the Prep of Rights to add a level 7 little ritual from deck to hand. We'll add Prep, and we'll add Bryo, and we'll add Cycle back from grave. So we do have a play for next turn through Bryo. We also have Inception to work with in case we draw into any incantation stuff or any way to get that into our graveyard. And we have Vanity's Ruler. So that is a one-sided, Vanity's emptiness. Now, we don't have anything engraved to banish with Valk, but I guess in that case we could have just tributed the Bryanak instead of both of the incantations, so we have an incantation on field with the Brio being tributed instead, or we could just not add back the cycle because that effect is optional and leave that in the grave for Valk. So either way, we're able to put this on the field, which in some cases is going to be enough for our opponent to, you know, try and out, and they just won't be able to. Drawing Metal Foes Fusion for turn, of course, but not too bad. If you ask me, it's definitely still doable to play around. So pretty successful hand there. We'll go ahead and shuffle up and do another one. All right, so I've shuffled, and now we'll go ahead and cut the deck and draw into another test hand here and see what we can make happen. We'll start by drawing Bryanak, Prep of Rites, Zaborg, Incantation Candle, and Nekroz of Trish. So this is a really good hand. We could do the Zaborg play here, or we could do the Vanities Ruler play. Both, in this case, are pretty much auto wins, obviously depending on what we're playing against. Now, to be fair, the Vanities Ruler play is a bit more safe, just because when you summon it, it doesn't have an effect that activates, so it's not like if it gets impermanence right then and there on summon, it's going to make too big of a difference. Obviously, they have an impermanence on their turn, then obviously it's a different story, which is why I've thought about playing Saravis in the main deck as a searchable ritual monster off prep, or Talismandra, just because that can protect anything from being targeted. It's like a Trish, but for all monsters, not just Nekroz monsters. So we'll do the Zaborg play here. We'll reveal the Candle, and we'll reveal the Trish. Actually, no, we can't use Candle because we do not have a ritual spell in hand, but we'll start with Brio then. Brio will add a copy of Clausulus. We'll pitch Clausulus for a copy of... where is it? Let's go ahead and grab the Kaleidoscope. I'm also running a mirror lineup of 2/2/2 because Foolish Burial Goods can also come in handy to be able to dump any of your Nekroz ritual spells to the grave while you've resolved like any of these guys here and banish them to search another mirror that you might need. So now we'll activate Candle by revealing the Kaleidoscope, and we'll summon Talismandra. And Talismandra will add us... doesn't make too big of a difference here because ideally we're going to be resolving the Zaborg anyways, so that shouldn't matter too much. Even if the Zaborg doesn't go through, we have a prep for backup if we need to. We can go grab Unicorn and kind of sit on that. So now we'll go ahead and tribute both of these. One of them was a light, which is good. We'll use that effect there. And now we'll go ahead and send all 3 Heralds to the graveyard. I can locate them. Herald, Omega, NTTS. Now, the fact that we're dumping the NTTS to the graveyard doesn't make too big of a difference, just because if we're resolving this and we're not getting the full value out of these, it's not going to make too big of a difference, just because like the game's pretty much over at this point. There should be a second Toad in here. 1 second. Yeah, there's the last card, that Toad, that final card. So that's 4/4. We're sending 8 to the graveyard. We'll build the chain links as such. Chain link 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't even know if these can activate if there's something on their side of the field, but either way, we would just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if that's the case. The chain link block all those Heralds. Toad will add back Brio, and the other Toad will add back itself back to the extra deck, and then we'll go ahead and add 3 ritual slash spells slash monsters from our deck to our hand. So I probably would add Unicorn if we can get that. Let's see, where's Unicorn? Where is that one of? There he is. Unicorn, Brio. We actually don't need Brio. Let's just grab Cycle and a copy of the Chalice Slime, because we have a lot of the really good staple cards in our hand right now that we, don't need to add multiple copies of to our hand. Now we'll use Omega to put itself back and Herald of the Arclight back to the extra deck to load that up a bit. And now from here, we can follow up by summoning Unicorn and dumping that Herald to the grave again. I flipped my graveyard upside down, my bad. We'll dump that Herald to the grave to summon out the Unicorn, and we'll activate Kaleidoscope, or not Kaleidoscope, the effect of Herald of the Arclight here to add a ritual. We'll add Clausulus, just so we're stacked for next turn. And as it stands, our field is pretty lackluster. All we have is Unicorn, but we have 7 cards in our hand, and we have a prep that we don't even really need to resolve right now, or else we'll have to discard next turn, or at the end phase. But this hand is phenomenal going into next turn. We can protect this from targeting, we can protect it from battle, so we are pretty set there. So if they try to hit it with Impermanence or Widow Anchor or whatever, we have the Trish to protect it, which is nice. So, and of course, anything in battle phase, Valk can deal with, because we do have a Nekroz card in the graveyard in the form of Kaleidoscope and Clauseless as well. So pretty solid turn there. Now we'll go ahead and shuffle up again and draw into another hand. Now, the main reason I switched, let me just make sure there's no extra deck monsters here, because I got the red sleeves on the back for both of these sleeves here, but looks like we are good. Just wanted to double check. But I wanted to put Zaborg and Manju back in, just because, like, I feel like just increasing the deck count for this deck, like the card count, doesn't matter too much. Obviously, you know, as consistent as possible isn't bad, but I feel like if you either see Manju and you can go into Unicorn and like do some cool plays with Emerald, make rank 4 plays, that's really good. Or if you see Zaborg, it's an instant win, essentially, if it resolves. Or if you see the Vantage Ruler combo and it goes uncontested, you pretty much auto win right then and there. Obviously, these strategies are fragile, but that's why I wanted to play as many of them as possible, so I can increase the chance of, you know, drawing into them and, you know, being able to get access to them and put the pressure on my opponent as quickly as possible. But you don't have to play all 3 of those. I mean, bare minimum, I would recommend just playing the Vanities Ruler, because it's pretty strong. So we're going to open up Zaborg here, Kandal, Chalice Slime, Unicorn, and another copy of Kandal. So this hand is not the greatest. We opened up double Kandal. We opened up Kandal last turn, but I think we could probably still make something happen here. We'll pitch the Chalice Slime to summon out Talismandra, which will search us any ritual monster. And if I could find the Talismandra here, we'll just go ahead and summon that out. So Talismandra will add Bryanak, and then Bryanak pitches itself for a copy of Clauseless. Clauseless pitches itself for a copy of any ritual spell, any Nekroz ritual spell. I'm going to grab Kaleidoscope here just because. And then it gets a little bit better here, because we'll use Kandal, revealing Kaleidoscope to special summon itself, and a copy of Pencil Plume, so we can add back some resources from our graveyard here. And we'll add back a copy of Bryanak. Now from here, it's pretty simple. We'll just go ahead and normal summon the Zaborg. We'll tribute both of these. I'll leave the level 6 on board, strictly for any Celestial Observatory plays we can make. We'll tribute that away, and we'll go ahead and dump all those 8 cards to the grave again, as per usual. So all of those, Chain Links being built in the proper order. We will add back a water. We'll add back, can't add back Chalice Slime. I thought it was a water just because the card was blue. We'll add back the Toad. And then we'll add 3 cards from deck to hand, 3 ritual spells and or monsters. We'll add Trish. We will add Valk. And where is Valk? We'll add Valk. And we could add Clauseless as well. I think that makes sense. And then from here, we can just drop the Unicorn on the field so we don't take the burn damage from the Chalice Slime. It's important to remember Chalice Slime's effect, or if you use them to discard to summon an incantation from your deck and you don't ritual summon afterwards, you will take, I believe, 2,500 damage. So we will use the effect of the Omega to put that back to the deck, just like that. Now we'll activate the Kaleidoscope, sending that Herald again, resolving that 4 times in a turn, which is absolutely insane. I have another Clauseless in my hand, so maybe I shouldn't have added that Clauseless. Maybe we should have just added something else from deck to hand instead of Clauseless. So I think that makes more sense. We'll just add, instead of adding that Clauseless, we'll add another copy of Chalice Slime for next turn. And then off the Herald of the Arclight, we'll just go ahead and add, let's see, we'll add Ben 10 to our hand, just because next turn, if they don't clear this, we can follow up with the Vanities Ruler lock. And we have so many freaking cards in our hand, it's like not even funny. I mean, you probably could follow this play up with something else. I just don't know exactly what it would be. You could probably set this here, and we'd have to discard 1 in the end phase. Actually, no, we have 7. So we have to set this ritual spell, which is fine. Actually, no. Did I not put the Kaleidoscope back in the grave? No, I didn't. So the Kaleidoscope's supposed to go in the graveyard. There we go. I'm just forgetting things. So next turn, hypothetically, we draw for turn. We draw prep. Hypothetically, let's say we had to use Valk and Trish, right? Let's say we had to use Valk and Trish, and we had to banish a Nekroz card from the graveyard. So we had to banish Kaleidoscope. So let's say they tried to run it over. They tried to target it, and they couldn't, accomplish any of those feats. Obviously, we go for Clauseless, grab Cycle, Bryanek, pitch itself for Valk or Trish, or add Shurit, whatever we want, and then we would cycle away the Ben 10 for Bryo, adding Vanity's Ruler, and then going from there, and pretty much securing the game at that point. Keep in mind they're down 8 monsters in their extra deck, and they're also having now to deal with a Vanity's Ruler, which is pretty scary as well. So that's it for that test hand. We'll go ahead and do we'll do one more, since these hands are pretty much playing out the same. Don't want to get it too redundant. All right, so I've pile shuffled. Now we'll go ahead and do our last test hand for the video and see if we can pull off either Zaborg or Vanity's Ruler, or who knows. So let's go ahead and cut the deck now and see what we can draw into. Rhoda, Trish, Valk, and Kaleidoscope. This hand is not the greatest, I will say. This is probably the weakest hand we've opened. The only thing I can say to do here is activate Rhoda in search of the Nekroz of Clauseless. Now, from here, we still have a play, actually, believe it or not. I do believe I play a level 11 in my extra deck. Okay, so I don't know where my other level 11 that I went, level 11 that I had that I was playing went, but I just grabbed a Leo real quick because that is 11. So we'll use Kaleidoscope and dump a Leo to the graveyard. Now that's level 11. This is 8. This is 3. 8 plus 3 is 2, or not 2, 11. 8 plus 3 is 2, boys. You heard it here first. So this is what this gets us. It gets us Clauseless and Valk, which actually isn't too bad. Now, one thing we could do is use Valk to tribute both of these cards to draw out 2, and we draw into another Clauseless and a Talismandra, which isn't bad. So we can use Talismandra, reveal Clauseless, and obviously the Talismandra, and then we can summon anything from our deck, any incantation monster. So we could either summon Kandal for a spell, which we don't really need. We could summon Pencil Plume for a ritual monster back in our graveyard. I think I'm just going to go for Kandal here and grab a copy of... Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and grab Pencil Plume to grab back Trish. I'm not going to go for the Kandal, since we don't really have, we already have a Clauseless in our hand. We don't need to search anything else. So we do have a way to protect our Valk, and we have a Valk if we need to stop them from running over our Valk, or running over any of our incantations, because if we stop the battle phase successfully and they can't clear anything else on our field, next turn we can draw for turn, potentially drawing Nekroz Mirror, and then if everything else survives, we have 2 perfect tribute targets here for Valk to draw 2 more cards, and we draw into a bunch more mirrors. That is pretty unlucky. But either way, it's not the most optimal hand, I get that, but drawing into 2 mirror in a 45 card deck is yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, yeah, that's just unlucky. But yeah, either way, that's I was going to make that the last test hand, but let's go ahead and do one more to sort of redeem that one. And that isn't so terrible of a hand because it gets to showcase sort of like the worst case scenario, I would say. That's pretty much the worst case scenario. We had access to Kaleidoscope and we had access to Valk with obviously Clauseless. Everything kind of worked out. We were able to get them both on the field for a draw 2, which isn't so bad. That potentially could have fixed our hand, which it somewhat did, but we just drew into the wrong card. So not a bad example of how to play out of a bad scenario if you open the right set of cards, like Valk and Kaleidoscope and other ritual monsters, taking advantage of Kaleidoscope's interesting effect. So we'll draw into one more hand here. We draw Pencil Plume, Inception, Bryo, Unicorn, and Zaborg. So this hand, again, this hand is really, really good. The only thing we need to do here is reveal these 2, summon out the Pencil Plume, and go for the Talismandra. Talismandra will add Ben 10. We'll pitch the Bryo for the Clauseless. We're going to grab that cycle eventually. This is just going to be a real quick one here at the end. And then we'll use the cycle to tribute the Ben 10 to summon out the Brio, activate Ben 10's effect to go ahead and grab that Vanity's Ruler, and then we'll tribute summon the Vanity's Ruler over top of these, or we could go for the Zaborg, whatever is, whatever floats your boat, whatever you want to do there, Zaborg or Ruler. So yeah, pretty solid test hand video if you ask me. I know a lot of the plays kind of turned out the same, but that's a good thing because that means we were opening up consistent. So, do you have to play both Zaborg and Vanity's Ruler in the extra deck, or in the main deck? I kind of don't mind it, just because if you see one or the other, it's a really good card to see. I was just playing Manju, experimenting with the Manju, because I still like that rank 4 access that we can have with this deck, to be able to get into Emerald, Exciton Knight, Dweller, etc., etc. And I'm also playing this link as well, the Nephthys, the Sacred Flame, be able to make this card with 2+ monsters, including a Ritual Monster. And basically, if you make it with 1 Ritual Monster, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If you make it with 2 Ritual Monsters, cannot be destroyed by battle. And card effects, and it also gains 1200 attack. And if you use 3 Ritual Monsters for it, neither player can target this card with card effects, and it gains 1200 attack. So yeah, if you use 3 Ritual Monsters for this card, which is nice because sometimes leaving a Unicorn on your field isn't enough, so being able to link this into this is really strong. If you use all 3, you get protection from battle, protection from card effect destruction, and gaining 2400 attack total, and it also can't be targeted. So very hard card for your opponent to deal with. So that's going to be it for this test hand video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be trying to get some more Nekroz stuff like duels and stuff in the future. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.